agenda items for action
مش
to
هون
also
بيشتغلوا غلط عم
include
يشتغلوا
and non-agenda items.
I support that
مش
motion.
عم يروح
I'll second.
مش عم يروح لايف
Okay, we have a motion
مش كونكشن
moved by trustee Peschel,
هلا لايف
supported by trustee Gary. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Berry?
Yes.
Trustee D'Ambrosio?
ضاع
Yes.
الموت
Trustee Moza?
Yes.
Trustee Petlicoff?
ما في
yes.
لايف ما في
Trustee
انترنت
Ford?
Yes.
Irene Wax?
ما في
President
انترنت
McDonald?
Yes.
ما في كونكشن
I want to start with an opening statement. Dearborn is a wonderful city. It is a melting pot
أطلع من
where people
التليفون
from
معاك.
all over the world live, work, and play
أخذت؟
together. We appreciate and respect each other's cultures and differences. We share customs, holidays, meals, and friendship. Dearborn is a warm and welcoming place. We must continue to be that wonderful city we are all so proud to call home. Unfortunately, what occurred on Monday night's board meeting was nothing to be proud of. Please remember, our students and our children are watching. Everyone who turned in a blue card will have the opportunity to speak. Let's be respectful, civil, and calm. Please do not speak unless you have the floor. Our opinions and views are not necessarily shared by all. We value our individual freedoms and must respect and value the rights of others. As a public school district, we must serve all students and make them feel welcome and safe. We are deeply concerned to know that because of the hostility and anger that has recently erupted, some of our community do not feel safe, particularly our district media specialists and our LGBTQ students. Every child deserves to feel welcome, safe, and supported in their school. The purpose of these meetings is to conduct the business of the board. Because we appreciate and value the input from our community, we set aside time at each meeting to hear your thoughts and concerns. Everyone who filled out a blue card will have the opportunity to speak. This is not a time for a dialogue, but just an opportunity to hear from our constituents. That is why we generally do not respond to each comment made at this time. I am asking that all of us here tonight be respectful of every speaker. That means to listen and not to talk when you do not have the floor. I will respect everyone here by doing my best as board president to treat everyone with the same level of fairness. Now, I believe Dr. Maleko wanted to make a couple of comments.
Yeah, thank you, President McDonald. I'll keep my comments brief. Just wanted to mention today, this afternoon, my favorite meeting of the year is my Student Advisory Council. This is the 8th year. I believe in student voice. We had a very good meeting. It's students from all over the district, the high schools, and they had a message that they wanted me to relay to everyone here tonight. And that is that they agree with expressing opinions, but it should be civility, civil discourse, and done in a peaceful and calm manner. They say the students are watching, and the adults, they're saying, please be role models for the students that are watching, because we are a public preschool to 12 institution. So I think that's very important. And I've learned so much from the students over the years, including, yes, how to implement Instagram and 1-minute messages. But the students really, they really are saying that they want to see us act in an appropriate manner, not what happened last Monday. So I wanted to pass that on. I have another comment that I want to mention. Under the authority, again, we don't want a repeat of Monday. We want people to be here and express their opinion. We want to hear it. But under our policy 0167.3, the presiding officer, and I'm just going to read a couple sections, may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Under number 3, the presiding officer can request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person. Hopefully it won't get to that point. We want to hear everyone. But again, if everyone can be peaceful in how they approach it and express their opinions, we would really appreciate that. I also want to recognize the fact that we did receive from a community member, I think it was posted, a resolution. We had a meeting the other day, and I did promise that I would mention that we are going to look at that resolution. We have a process we follow with the board. It will be going through committee, and resolutions that come before the board go through a vetting process, and so we will be reviewing that at the next meeting. And so I want you to know, just to accept the fact that we have received it and we are going through the whole process. Thank you very much, President McDonald. I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, guys.
Citizen participation.
Citizens wishing to address the board on agenda items for action who are signed in by 7:10 p.m. by submitting a blue card to the board secretary might speak at this time. The board may not be in a position to respond to non-agenda items. Therefore, speakers should not anticipate an immediate response to their comments or questions. For the benefit of all concerned, do not mention the names of students or school district employees. Please keep your comments as brief as possible. The board president reserves the right to limit times. Madam President, I don't have any agenda items or blue cards for agenda items.
Hold on just a moment. I just wanted you to make that statement, and then I'm going to introduce Mr. Mustonen. Because of the change in the venue and the number of citizens that are wishing to address the board tonight, I will now give the floor to David Mustonen, our communications director, to explain the logistics of this evening's citizen participation. It's a little different than we're used to because of the difference in the venue and the number of people that would like to speak with us. Go ahead, thank you, David.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald. I appreciate the promotion to doctor as well. So what we'll do here tonight, there's a screen located on the left-hand side of the auditorium. We will put up names, five names for each microphone. So this is microphone 1. So if you see your name under microphone 1, you know that this is where you're going to be speaking. And if you're on that list of 5, you can get in line and line up. At the same time, on the other side is microphone 2, and there'll be a list of 5 names, and you can come down and get in line at microphone 2. What we're trying to do here is to expedite the process, that dead air time between speakers, so that we can move right from one speaker to another. The board secretary will still call the name, and you will not speak until the board secretary calls your name, but at least if we can have everybody lined up and ready. The same screen is out in our overflow rooms, so if there are any participants in the overflow rooms who have a blue card, they can also see the names, and if they see their name kind of on the on-deck circle, they can come to the auditorium, they can wait their turn, they can come down to the microphone, speak, and then they will be asked to return to the overflow room at that time. Hopefully we'll be able to expedite the process that way, and we're able to hear everybody who wishes to address the board. There is a 3-minute timer down here that people can clearly see. As it gets near the end, it will turn to yellow, then it will turn to red. Once your time has expired, you will know that it's time to yield the mic to the next participant.
Thank you, Mr. Mustonen. May we have the first blue card, please?
Sure. All blue cards are non-agenda items. So the first one is Mr. Hassan Aoun, who would like to address the board on books, and he is from Dearborn.
They call me the house cash in the community. I'm here to address the issue where the books that you guys have are unappropriate. At this time, I'm asking you guys to take the books down. Because I got a call from Virginia today, and they have the same situation where he told me, you're gonna come today and they're gonna have metal detectors, and you guys have metal detectors. You have security. Because what happened last time is one of you guys sat there and disrespected the community by telling them to shut up when you guys first addressed the calm down. And I said, you know, this is inappropriate. And I'm not going to sit here and tolerate anybody to disrespect my community. You know, we're out here for the kids. We didn't come here just to sit there, joke around, laugh, and this and that. This is not funny. This is, we have to address this issue. These things, the books, the graphics, this is not inappropriate. Because what they did in West Virginia is, they said, yeah, we got a committee, we're gonna look into it. They looked into it, and the next thing you know, they drafted people so they could forget about it, and then they came back and booked the books back on the shelves. Now, I don't know what you guys are trying to do. I don't know, why didn't you take these books out and say, that's it, we're done with these books? But you guys want to sit here and just keep the books, you know. Instead of you guys taking the 6 books out, we wouldn't even be here. What's the problem? What's the agenda? What are you getting out of it? What grants have you? I did a FOIA request. I think you guys got it. 15.1 as amended. And I'm going to find out everything, and I'm going to find out what grants you guys want to go. Who has a nonprofit organization that's funding you this money, and you guys are sitting here and just getting ridiculous. People got kids out here. Okay? I'm not against the gate. I'm not against anything. I'm against the books. Okay? Don't sit here and say that people are sitting here funding you guys and just telling you, oh, we want these books out. You worried about the gay people? No problem. We're not worried about the gay people. We're worried about our children. Okay? And second of all, I don't want to hear anybody, okay, sitting there saying, oh, you guys are offending the gay. Well, these are kids. They can be 18. If they want to become gay, they'll become gay. Who cares? That's not a problem. We don't want kids to have access to these books. It's nice and simple. I'm not going to address the situation no more.
No, you got it?
It is. It is what it is. And the only person that's behind this is Rashida Tlaib. Do not vote for Rashida Tlaib.
Next speaker is Mrs. Patricia Jones Olsen. She would like to speak to the board about inclusion and current attitude. Patricia? Next. Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Jeff Southett. He would like to speak to the board about illegal sexual explicit books.
Jeffrey Selma. I'd like to begin by saying thank you for the lease acknowledging there is a flawed process and implemented a process. My biggest concern, why is the burden on the parents to find these books? What happens when the parents who don't read or speak English, why is it on them to try to opt out? They don't know what's going on. How do these books even end up in our library? That's the biggest thing. I mean, these books are really bad. When I'm looking at it, I cringe. They don't belong in the hands of 13, 14, 15-year-old kids. I believe there should be a process to review these books before they even get in our schools, not a review process once they're in our schools.
Next speaker is Mr. Ziad Abdulmalik, who would like to address the board on sexually explicit materials and dress code.
I now understand that you have a book challenge process in place, or I shall say that you had one before, but it wasn't very public to the parents. It is also understandable that there might be some material in the schools which could be considered borderline inappropriate or controversial, depending on one's views. This book challenge has a potential to be a best-case scenario for these types of materials because everybody takes offense to different things in different ways. In regards to the specific material that we saw in the media center, a normal, psychologically sound and stable mind would come to a conclusion that that specific material is nothing but sexually explicit. And this type of material further promotes mental health issues, especially in reflection to self-harm, according to previous studies. I understand today that there are certain elements here in this city, as well as across the nation, making baseless claims which are vilifying parents and are making the issue about everything else except protecting young, impressionable minds from filth that most adults shy away from or are uncomfortable reading. This type of material is a definition of things that fall through the cracks. And I understand in a library of 500,000 books, it happens sometimes, even against best efforts. But that is where we step up and acknowledge our failures and we right our wrongs. These specific books should not be subjected to a book challenge, but outright removed. These are not borderline controversial materials,
بس عملته.
but outright infectious diseases on young developing minds which have the potential to have these minors seeking psychological help in the future. The school's job is to promote academia, and the parents' job is to raise their children. You are not a daycare, but a core education provider, which we pay our annual subscription fees through our tax dollars. Stick to math, science, history, literature, automotive and computer technologies, which excites and challenges young minds, which in turn will provide the world with intellects that will lead in breakthroughs, cure disease, be upstanding, contributing members to society. So let's focus on raising our rock bottom test scores and do away with exposing minors to sexually explicit material. You can do better. You can all do better. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Ann Clark of Dearborn, would like to address the board on books.
I'd like to address the board on a personal note. Last Monday, you were condescending and very disrespectful to me. You will be held to atonement by your higher power, but your higher power is us. And I'm going to remind you and just read what you handed out so nicely today. Dearborn Public Schools believes that media materials can contain graphic or gratuitous violence, sexual contact, explicitives, or hate speech without literally or educational merit should not be included in our school media center. And I'm going to read you that act that you so graciously put in there. Harmful to minors means sexually exploitive material that meets all of the following criteria. Consider as a whole, it appeals to the produced interest of minors as determined by contemporary local community standards. This community. Local standards of adults as to what is suitable for minors, worthy adults. Local community means that the county in which the material is disseminated. This county. Tourist interest means lustful interest in sexual stimulation or gratification in determining whether sexual exclusive matters appears to be prudent interest, and the matter shall be judged with a reference to the average age of 17-year-old minors. It appears from the character of the matter that is designated to appeal to the prudent interest of particular group of persons, including but not limited to homosexuals and statistics. And then matters shall be judged in reference to average age of minors within the particular group from which it appears to be designated. This is a legislative law, and you are not abiding by it. And the
and Mallory would like to address the board on school curriculum, as well as age-appropriate materials and their inclusion.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all. So I want to first start out by saying one thing. Any of the teachers that are here, our beef is not with you. Our beef is with you. Let me get that out of the way. Now, last month, I came to the board meeting for the first time in my life. And we read some of the material that was in these so-called books. The Great Sex Act Debate. There's actual reviews about Grindr, saying how good it is. I have used Grindr. The advantages are you can get what you want quickly. This is from the book.
You go.
I've met a variety of interesting people through sex apps. They're predominantly used for sex though. They're sold to us as social networking apps, but we all know what they're really for. I don't have a problem with that aspect of it. If people want casual sex, then something like Grindr is a must. And we read that too last month. And you looked at us like we were some kind of crazy people speaking to you, like almost like we had nothing to like we had nothing to say. Now, does anybody need a college education or a PhD to know that this book is not appropriate for kids? Why in God's name do we need to have some complicated process? This is strictly just common sense, guys. How did we get to this point? So, when I mentioned this last week, I thought what's going to happen is you guys would be like, okay, you know what, you parents, you have a point. We'll work on making our processes more robust. These books absolutely do not belong in the library. But instead, what happened was the exact opposite. We were viciously attacked, social media and beyond social media. Even people like me, people trying to get me fired from work, and yet at the same time, they are attacking us while at the same time being the victim. And all along, all you guys are silent. What exactly are you doing? So let me say this. I have faith in the great people of Dearborn, okay? The vast majority of people in Dearborn agree with us. We are a compassionate people. We are a tolerant people. We are a faithful people. And at the same time, we are a courageous people. And we're not going to give up until this issue is finally resolved. And unfortunately, it's not going to be resolved until you guys.
Next speaker is Mr. Hussein Mohammed of Dearborn, who would like to address the board on protecting our kids from materials not age appropriate. Next speaker is Mr. Jason Skidmore, would like to address.
And they struggled through squalor, formed the unions that would earn them a fair living, allowing them to seek prosperity outside the limits, and from the comfort of the suburbs, their children and grandchildren to Mexico, Puerto Rico, looked to the Middle East and said, no, we don't want you, go back. And still, you came, you persevered, you built wonderful, prosperous community. So now you find that which you disapprove of, that which you hate, and you choose to subvert that end of community. Now, you can claim this isn't about hate, and for a second of you, maybe it is purely about the graphic nature of these books. And if it is, I can respect that. But look at the hateful signs that were on display the other night. Consider some of the language that we're seeing picked up from the Christian right, who spent years trying to shove the gay back in the closet. Indoctrination, grooming, acceptance of pedophilia. That should be all you need to see this for what it is. It's one woman's crusade to stir up the ultra-conservative element around one trumped-up issue. Come on, these kids weren't reading these books. And use it in a manipulative effort to replace a valid school board with one tailored to their narrow set of views. That all the way to the top until there are no voices left in this country but theirs. I don't know that she expected such support from the Muslim community, but here they are, apparently fervent in their fear of all LGBTQ. Because like I said, it's their turn to embrace the American way. So the school board has done its duty. You've listened to the community's concerns, done your investigation, presented a reasonable program that allows each parent to make these decisions for their kids. And I, for one, won't give up my rights as a father to anyone whose parenting skills are so fragile their teenagers can be undone by ink on a page. It's time for you to draw your line and stand by it. community will stand with you despite all of this. If you cave and remove these books, they may believe they've won, but it doesn't make them right. History will judge them on that, and it will judge you. This nation does not look back fondly on such efforts.
I ask that you please be respectful of every speaker. We have been respectful. There has been respect shown up until now. Please continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Next, until you turn, when you have the opportunity to speak, you can convey your message. Next speaker is Ms. Lewis. Ms. Louis Joelle, sorry you did not write your name. She would like to speak to the board on supporting the civil rights of all students and giving my time to Nancy DeZace.
No, we can't do that.
Next, Nancy. Okay. Next speaker is Ms. Mary Kay Quivick, who would like to speak to the board on supporting public education.
My name is Mary Kay Quivick. I have lived in Dearborn for 55 years. I have taught hundreds and hundreds of Dearborn public school students over the last 14 years. I have watched my 3 children graduate from Dearborn public schools in recent years, and I pay attention to the school board meetings and the school board elections. And I'm saying all of this to give you some idea of the depth of my investment in the effectiveness and success of our schools in Dearborn. These are my children, my schools, this is my community. And my message here today is not for the board, but for my community. I stand here today to represent the teachers, the administrators, the support staff in our schools every single day, the people who are being called names. The same people we have met at open houses and conferences, the same people who are doing their very best to support your children and teach our children, the same people who have huddled in the corners of classrooms with our children, teaching them what to do if a school shooter enters the building. The same people who would place themselves between a school shooter and our children. And these are the people we are attacking. The school board and Dr. Malenko worked around the clock during COVID to protect our children, and we knew absolutely nothing about it. And these are the people we are attacking. Mayor Mood was called names last week for pointing out what we all know because it was made very clear at the board meeting Monday night, that political groups from outside Dearborn are manipulating our community to whip up hate against teachers and administrators and support staff, and especially against our LGBTQ students and staff members. The very same political groups, by the way, who have a history of embracing anti-Muslim ideologies, the very same groups who are doing this in hundreds of school districts in dozens of states, all in the last year. And we know this isn't about the books because the district has pulled the books in question to review, and they're reviewing every single book in every single school library, and they're allowing parents to opt out of any books, and they've created a appeal process. So let's stop pretending this is about protecting children from books. We all know this is about erasing our LGBTQ students and staff. It was literally written on signs people brought to the meeting on Monday. As a community, we need to come together and ensure that those who are different from us are embraced and supported. We need to teach our children that we do not fear people who are different from us, but that we welcome them into our community. We need to ensure our community, our schools, and our classrooms are safe, welcoming environments for every student and every staff member, regardless of their identity, religion, or nation of origin. That's who we should be as a community.
And faculty, including LGBTQ+ people.
Please do not speak if you do not have the floor. Be respectful and calm. Thank you.
Next speaker of Dearborn, Mr. Amro Nizam, would like to address the board on parents' rights in the educational system.
I am a father of Dearborn Public School, of a Dearborn Public School student, and a product of Dearborn Public Schools. The majority of parents are not here to attack anyone. We are not here to attack the board. We are not here to attack the LGBT community. And we are not here especially to attack our people. We cannot allow extremes on both sides to hijack the narrative. We are here to exercise our parental rights and to hold the board accountable to the highest degree. To the board, we entrust you with our children's safety along with their education. The blatantly inappropriate content in question has no place in our public schools. We have chosen you as our board to protect our children from age-inappropriate content. And all the parents here, yes, there is also a threat to our children from the internet and social media apps such as TikTok, where far worse content exists. However, internet use at home does not absolve the board from being held accountable by parents. We are justified in voicing our concern about normalizing sexually inappropriate content in public schools. To the LGBT community, the majority of parents are not here to attack your right to exist in a free society. But parents also have rights to protect their children. Criticism of age-inappropriate content is not criticism of the LGBT community. However, advocating for such materials to be placed in schools is a violation of parents' rights. Finally, you as the board have a duty to repair the trust that has been ruptured between parents and the public school system. And for the person that said that in the back, I'll repeat what he said. American values and the American way is not child pornography.
Next speaker is Ms. Jane Nesler from DFT 681, would like to address the board on public schools teachers.
Hello, good evening, board president and Dr. Malenko and board trustees. I'm Jane Mazza, president of DFT 681. DFT 681 has always supported quality public education, supporting a welcoming environment for all of our students and staff. Unfortunately, a political agenda discredited our hardworking staff and our public school system is what is occurring this evening. This political group has used fear and misinformation to intentionally divide our community and cast negative allegations on the integrity of our staff. I find it puzzling that the community media sources have highlighted and spread the misinformation from this group. The DFT 681 has given back to the community in many ways. Over the past 10 years, we've given out to children in this community over 10,000 books at homecoming and other events. In August of 2021, the DFT was awarded a $90,000 grant to promote back-to-school events. Every Dearborn school benefited from this grant. No community press was given to these events. DFT will continue to bring positive events to all of our children. Everyone can agree that having resources and books in our schools that speak to the diversity of identities and experiences of our students is critical for quality and supportive education. Our community, like many others across the country, is being intentionally divided by political players whose agenda revolves around anti-public school teachers, not what is best for students. Love and concern that every parent has for their children is being exploited with these false narratives to divide our community for public reasons. I've been a teacher in this community for over 30 years. My children attended and graduated from Dearborn schools. My grandchildren presently attend Dearborn public schools. Please think about the teachers who teach your children. Many of them have their own children attending Dearborn public schools. You know them because they attend your churches or mosques and live in this community. They are working hard every day to make sure your child is cared for and educated in the best environment that is welcoming to all, no matter their background, racial, or religious identity. We need to work together, Dearborn. We have a strong parent component. We've always offered classes and support for our parents. Parents should absolutely have an active role in their child's reading and education, but no parent should be able to tell another parent what their child is allowed or not to read. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Matthew Dearborn, would like to speak to the board on education.
Good evening, board members. First of all, I'd like to tell the teachers that are in the room today, and some of whom I went to their classrooms actually. Thank you for teaching us. While our youth today, like others have said, it's not about you guys. Good evening, board members. I'd like to ask this body of school board members whether you believe you are using your positions and platforms for future political advantages, or whether you choose this position of influence to defend, advocate, and fight for the needs and concerns of the families and individuals who elected you. Question: are you still standing firm in the statements you made when you were running for and gathering votes for your current positions? I take that as a no. As school board members, it is your duty to do what is right for your community. But unfortunately, that has not been the case. The community attended last board meeting with true concern about their children's education and exposures to explicit material. But unfortunately, this body did not take us seriously. It was only when the community came together and protested to hold the board accountable that this board and administration decided to take action. Although there has been a change by your administration, this is a only minor step to a much larger and more complex issue. There is more work to be done. This work can only take place by joining with your community members to discuss the issues, listen to our concerns, engage in open communications, and come together to enforce long-term, proactive measures to keep our community and youth safe from material that is in the least way instructive, educational, or beneficial to our youth. This is not a battle between the school board and the community. This is instead has to be a collective effort to ensure our children are receiving the educational resources that will further their futures and not further confuse them. Over the past few weeks, I have had multiple parents, religious figures, and organizations contact me, and others who worked on this issue, of their support for this cause we are pursuing today. We're all on the same mission, and that mission is to enrich the minds of our developing children with material that will further their education and future paths. Schools are no place to teach children about the complexity of sexuality, gender identification, or sexually explicit material. Instead,
Thank you very much for your comments. Everyone is given 3 minutes. That's the fair way to do it. In the past, we have we are being fair to everyone. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Ms. Lola Mackey, No City. Would like to speak to the board on education.
Good evening and assalamu alaikum. I stand here today as a concerned citizen and a concerned parent. I just want everybody to know that my loyalty does not lie to the right or to the left. It lies just to my community and my child and my future children. The past week, the movement that is obviously against sexually explicit pornographic material in the libraries, we've been called so many names: Trumpers, MAGAs, extremists, Christian white nationalists. Somebody put a picture of us, apparently, terror, whatever. And I just want to say something, that if we were anti-LGBT, we would be going after these social clubs in schools. From my understanding, there are gay, straight alliance clubs in the high schools, and if this was an anti-LGBT movement, we would be going after them before we go after the books. And I just have a question for people who are Second Amendment supporters. Would you guys be okay with Guns and Ammo magazine subscriptions in our library? Because it's not age appropriate. And that's what we're trying to make you guys understand. We're trying to make you understand appropriateness is age appropriateness. These books are obviously inappropriate, they're sexually explicit, they're pornographic, they're disgusting. I'm disgusted just looking at them, let alone read them. The media itself, blurred out the images from these books. So just ponder on that for a moment. Thank you for being here.
Mr. Hassan Ali of Dearborn would like to address the board on education.
Good evening. My name is Hassan Ali. I'd like to speak about education. There's no doubt that the argument for public education is a good one. In our diverse society of competing faith and value systems, the promise of education for all remains the great equalizer among individuals and a safeguard of our republic. That's why we tolerate a government monopoly on education. Because education for all is necessary for a healthy society, on the condition that it serves the common good. On that basis, we place our trust in public schools, that they serve the common good. The argument for public education fails when that condition is no longer met. When parents, the primary stakeholders in public education, fear that public schools are being weaponized in order to push a pernicious political agenda, a set of beliefs and dogmas that seek to indoctrinate students and turn them against their faith or against the values of their families. That is when parents lose trust in public education. Across the country and here in Dearborn, we are witnessing that loss of trust. We've seen political activism encroach upon the public school system, not just in the form of obscene books that masquerade as representation, but in curriculums, in school policies, in political flags and symbols that hang in classrooms, and in activists who abuse their trust to teach objectively and impartially and instead seek to make activists out of their students. Those activists not only betray the trust of their profession, they betray their colleagues, the vast majority of whom are dedicated teachers who serve their students in earnest, despite being underpaid and overworked. On behalf of parents, I want to honor our teachers and express our esteem and gratitude for everything they do. As the adults in the room, we have a collective responsibility to our children, to posterity, to ensure the education they receive is worthy of their childhood and their inquisitive minds. For that reason, we've submitted a resolution to the board containing sensible and practical measures to affirm the rights of parents to direct the education of their children, to increase transparency in school curriculum and instructional materials.
Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Muhammad Musleh of Dearborn would like to speak to the board on education. Next speaker is Mr. Mustafa Al-Karaholi of Melville would like to speak to the board on children's rights. It's not about LGBTQ, it's about kids exposure to sexual content. So is he here to address us? Next speaker is Mr. Jackson Wagner of Dearborn. Would like to speak to the board on the proposed book ban.
My name is Jackson Wagner. I was born in Dearborn. I've lived here my entire life, and I'm a gay man. It saddens me to see our community torn asunder, to see friends and neighbors turn on one another. Diversity has always been Dearborn's strength. Let's never forget that. We have schools to train students to be engaged citizens of a democracy and to coexist with people different from them. How can we teach the next generation of citizens to embrace democratic values like freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion if we betray these principles and deny them these liberties in school?
Please allow the speaker to speak. Thank you. Continue.
We all want children to be safe, and we all want them to be well informed. These goals seem like they are in conflict today, but they don't have to be. We know that sexuality is more or less the same over the course of someone's life, even if how they express it goes through changes. I was born gay. No matter how homophobic my environment was, no matter how much I denied it, nothing could change that. It just made me suffer. For many people like me, that pain drove them to suicide. Banning LGBT books isn't going to stop anyone from being gay. It will just make them miserable and alienate them, and the consequences might be fatal. I want everyone here to imagine a time when they felt like everyone around you hated you for who you are. I'm not Muslim, and most of you aren't gay, but all of us know what it is like to be mistreated by people who know little about you. Maybe you can hide who you are, but that hurts in a different way. The far right in this country despises us all. What I'm asking for is that everyone have compassion and consider the harm you do to the most vulnerable among us when you stigmatize their very existence. It is the duty of every community to build a nurturing environment. Even though I had open-minded and supportive parents who instilled in me the value of books and diverse cultures, without a supportive environment, I still suffered. We owe today's students a better community. Let's build that community environment by choosing to discuss difficult topics rather than shying away from them. Let's stand together in solidarity and hospitality. Dearborn should be a city where everyone knows that they are safe and loved and supported.
No City would like to speak to the board on this. Go ahead now.
Everyone be respectful and calm and allow speakers to speak. Yes, please continue. Everyone be quiet so we can hear the speaker. Be calm and respectful. Thank you. Please go ahead, Mr. Abbas.
Dear respected board members, we have entrusted you to protect our children physically, emotionally, and morally from the evils that threaten us. This is another attempt to confuse our children and make a mockery of Dearborn while destroying the family structure. These There are other districts that have fallen prey to this filthy material, breaking the barriers that protect the most vulnerable. The issue here is not a religious one, nor is it an attack against the LGBTQ community. It is an issue of age appropriateness. It is an issue of sexually explicit, obscene, and lewd content. Many of us here don't care what your sexual preference is, nor do we want to argue about gender identities or if men can get pregnant. What concerns us is that your personal beliefs do not poison our beliefs, our religious duties, or the biological facts. When the schools decided to take God out of the classroom, it was to protect children from being indoctrinated. The same applies here. When you try to please everyone, that simply means you stand for nothing. Coming up with an opt-out of books program is not a solution. Taking out the garbage is. When our children are under your watch, it is your duty to protect them from erotica or overly provocative words or graphic porn. We are not talking about public libraries, nor do we agree with censorship. This is not a platform to segregate us based on political affiliation, nor is it a platform to advance political careers, be it school board, city council, or mayoral. We do not care about the ones that try to vilify us in the papers and media, in the media outlets. And history will remember us in a positive way. We will not tolerate many of you that make this about political affiliations to get caught up in your backyard brawls, pitting us against each other while you quietly ignore the facts and endanger our children. My affiliation and responsibility is to protect my children and all children from falling prey to the traps of the creeps and pedophiles in this world. This is as black and white as it gets. This determines who will turn their backs on children. Our voices will be heard, and this will continue to escalate until our concerns do not fall on deaf ears. We will remember who abandoned us and who stood with truth and dignity. Every one of you will be held liable.
Everyone, please sit down and let the next person speak. We appreciate you being respectful and calm and allowing everyone their opportunity.
Stone of Dearborn would like to address the board on book ban policies, safety of LGBTQ students, staff, and parents.
This is not a debate about books. It's a debate about culture.
Guys, they can't see the screen.
And let's just admit that. Because people who want to ban books about gay people and come up and use words like pedophile to describe gay people, who use words like sexual perversion to describe gay people, you're not trying to ban a book. You're trying to ban gay people. That's what this is about. And it's obvious because the signs are there. And you know what? It's not about pornography either, because you printed out 8-foot-tall signs of what you called was pornography, and then you showed it to dozens of children at your own rallies. And that's pornography, and the guy holding the sign of showing it to all your kids. Come on, man. Let's talk about what this really is. You hate gay people, and it's obvious, because look at how you behave when one gay person speaks. Look at how you act, and your children are watching.
Mr. Stone, you need to address the board and not the audience.
Yes, well, I'd like to also say this. Characters in books deserve to be defended. Every kind of
character, gay characters, black characters, every diverse kind of character that can exist in a book belongs in our libraries. And you know what? They belong for one very simple reason. Because literature reflects reality.
Address the board, please.
Literature reflects reality. And let me tell you this too. There are people who are adulterers in the real world. There are people who cheat their business partners. There's people who do all kinds of things in books. They're villains. They shoot people. They hurt people. They do dastardly things. And we don't try to ban them from every book. And you know why we don't ban every book that has a villain? Because there's villains in real life. There's people who go out and bully others, who try to shout them down, who pull up signs and shame them and make them feel less than. Yes, villains exist in this world. And if the most wretched villain belongs on the page of a book, then so too does a young gay child or a gay character who's just trying to survive.
And I want to remind everyone that you need to address the board, don't address the audience. Address the board.
Next speaker is Ms. Judith Jones, who would like to address the board on banning books. Judith Jones.
My name is Dr. Judith Jones. I'm a third generation born and raised in Dearborn. I went off to study, married, and raised my family. I returned in my old age to teach and live near my family. I am not in favor of banning any books in Dearborn. If parents do not want their children to read a book, they should not allow them to do that. But to voice their views of one group of citizens on the rest of Dearborn doesn't work either. This is what Hitler did, and we all know how that worked out. As a society, we are richer if we do not limit what others can read. To ban books is to close our minds to learning from people who are different. I'm not going to read the message from my sister, Patricia Hartshorn, a lifelong Dearborn resident. She was at the meeting Monday, but is unable to attend tonight. What I love about Dearborn today is our diversity. Diversity is our strength. I appreciate the wonderful staff and students my 4 children interacted with at Edsel Ford. My kids' friends were from everywhere. I am a member of the American Federation of Teachers organization at U of M Dearborn. I've taught science to over 1,000 teachers in 28 years at U of M Dearborn. Many of my students work in Dearborn Public Schools. My husband taught 8th grade math at Woodward. I love teachers. Citizens like me believe in free access to information and a safe, inclusive learning environment for all. Right now, there are people among us trying to divide this community and attack public education. We stood strong against Terry Jones when he came to Dearborn to divide us. What I saw on display Monday made my heart sing, she says. Thank you, school board, Mr. Martin, and Dr. Groover for your hard work. What happened after your presentation was depressing. We all want the same thing. We want children to be supported. We want great schools where children can pursue their dreams. We all want intelligent, strong, and healthy children. To see attacks on our teachers are disheartening. I am here to support our LGBTQ+ community and our wonderful teachers.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is Mr. Stephanie Butler of City, who would like to speak to the board on book review.
So I'm not gonna go over the books because it's beating a dead horse. What I am gonna talk about though is slander and libel. So when you take the white woman in the room and then you turn thousands of Arab American Muslims into white Christian nationalists that are being led off a cliff by a sheep, insinuating that these people, some graduated from Harvard, are a bunch of idiots who can't think for themselves, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And you know it. So let's talk about harassment. Let's talk about the facts. I have not even heard about your librarian from Fortson who put my information and my residence on Twitter to get doxxed, knowing that I have children at home. I filed a report with this body, and I have gotten nothing. Okay? So let's not talk about that, all right? Let's talk about some facts. So, there's a little misconception. We're going to clear that up tonight. Did I send my daughter to the library to check out that book? 100% I did. 100%. I knew what was in the book. However, when my daughter got to the librarian, and let me ask you, has this ever happened to another child, or is it just my child? Where she was asked if her mother was Stephanie Butler, to which she replied, yes, she is. Okay, well, I can check this book out to you. Well, why can't you check this book out to me? Because your mom's on social media saying really mean things about me, and I don't feel legally that I can check this book out to you. Wow, so you deny it? Let's talk facts, okay? We're going to talk facts. To where I was on the phone with my daughter the whole entire conversation, till the time that Miss Hassan beeped in on the other line, to which she said, Mrs. Butler, just wanted to let you know that your daughter's down here. She's trying to check out a gay book. I said, whoa, 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 stop right there. Miss Hassan, is this a normal book? Like, it doesn't have any sex scenes, anything like this? Obviously, I knew what was in it. Flipped through it, she said, yeah, it's good. Okay, then let her check the book out. So, you guys are slandering my name and pretending that these people have no brains to think for themselves because they don't want porn in the school.
Would you please repeat the name? Oh, I'm sorry,
Good evening, board trustees, respected board trustees, superintendent, concerned parents. It is quite disheartening that after so much strife and public outcry, this body has offered abysmal recourse to the parents who have clearly voiced concerns over sexually explicit, obscene, pornographic, and lewd content in their children's school library. A manifestation that subjects this body to criminal offenses under the threat of prosecution per MCL 722, sections 674 and 675. Further, the books in question are listed among the most challenged and most censored titles nationally on the American Library Association's website. So this phenomenon is not unique to the city of Dearborn, nor its residents. Additionally, the notion that anyone is advocating to ban books is baseless, considering that our media specialists are being asked to screen these books has uncovered deficiencies in the said process. Superintendent, the statement you released was balanced. It addressed the varied sentiments around the topic, but it fell short of bringing much needed closure to this very sensitive matter. Pursuant to Michigan statute governing the public school system, MCL 380.10, parents are to be viewed as partners in our children's education. Furthermore, the law itself recognizes that it is the natural and fundamental rights of parents to determine and direct the teaching and education of their children. To that end, first and foremost, I urge this body to clearly outline that sexually explicit content will be removed permanently, not temporarily, from the collection. It should not have found its way onto school library shelves. Secondly, the release statement puts the burden on the parents to have knowledge of the school library's 300,000 unique book titles, their contents, and their literary value, thereby negating the process of challenging or opting out of specific book titles. This represents a short-sighted proposal which requires a more practical framework. Thirdly, Superintendent, the most important sentence in your release statement is the following. We are also aware that the vast majority of students in our care are minors, still learning about life in the world, and they are not ready emotionally and intellectually to process some content. I couldn't agree more and hope that we find meaningful closure to this issue so that we can focus on equally important matters. Finally, and most importantly, the issue pertains to the health and safety of our school-age children and should not be tainted by any political, religious, ideological, or ulterior agendas. That said, we put our trust in this body to act in the best.
We would like to speak to the board on sexually explicit books.
So I'm going to start off by talking to the community. I hope you guys realize what elected officials have done.
Please address the board.
To the community, I hope you realize what the elected officials have just done. They are using ordinances against us, threatening us with arrest, trying to keep us quiet, and trying to stop us from speaking up for our children. This shows their true feelings in regards with this situation. They have metal detectors at the door as if we are criminals. What are you guys trying to say about us? But you guys allowed Brian Stone to try to incite the crowd, and you guys didn't cut off his money. Let me also make mention of some of the chatter that us residents are hearing. The ones vocal against the concerned parents of Dearborn. The ones accusing us of being outsiders. Perhaps the most important point that a self-appointed spokesperson that has chosen to condone and or support the exposure of our children to sexually explicit content in our schools does not, I repeat, does not have children attending our public schools. They have either chosen to have their kids attend private schools, religious or otherwise, or their children have already graduated from our public school system, or they do not have children, nor do they live in our community. The bottom line is their kids have been sheltered from the indecency they are subjecting our kids to, love, and tolerance. That to me is a definition of hypocrisy and virtue signaling. We don't want, nor do we need people telling us to ensure the safety and education of our children, not to raise them. We are here to demand that the Board of Trustees hear us and implement our resolutions that we have submitted. Anything short of that is telling us that you feel too comfortable in your positions and that our legal rights do not matter. We the parents will not step the way around. Show us anything short of respecting the will of the people and we will have new community members sitting in those chairs. Hold on. We don't play politics when it involves our children. Either respect that fully with no compromise or step down or get removed. The ball is now in your court. That's the lead. It will not stay there for long.
Thank you for your comments. May I please remind everybody to, in the best interest of time, we've still got a lot of people that would like to be heard. Can I please remind everyone to line up when you see your names up on the screen?
Next speaker is Ms. Lauren Olsen of Dearborn would like to speak to the board on censorship.
My name is Lauren Olsen. I am a lifelong Dearborn resident and graduate of Edsel Ford High School. Reading is a foundational skill critical to future learning and to exercising our democratic freedoms. Most of us will not travel far from where we were born, but reading helps you see what life is like somewhere else or somewhen else or from the perspective of someone very much not like you. Narratives are how humans learn best, and it's why we've used narratives since the beginning of civilization. Narratives help shape our understanding of our world and our place in it. We can trust individuals to make their own decisions about what they read and believe. My parents never really policed what my sister and I read. In middle school, I went to Stone Branch Library constantly reading a book a day over summer vacation. In high school, I talked about books with many of my teachers, and occasionally we would exchange books we thought the other would like. I never did get my copy of Mouse Volume 1 back from Mr. Paz. I have read and vehemently disliked Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis, and it didn't even mentally scar me. I'm still an avid reader, and I am such an avid reader because I was allowed to enjoy reading. We should do everything we can to encourage reading among teens and kids. Parents have the right to guide their children's reading, but parents should not be making decisions for other parents' children. Specifically, a small group of parents should not dictate what books other people's children are allowed to read. Just because you personally do not want your kid reading a specific book does not mean that book does not belong in the school library. There is a parent opt-out form, which means you can keep your child from reading those specific books, and there are private school and homeschool options, but public schools are meant to be for every student from every walk of life. Young people deserve to see themselves reflected in a library's books. Like Flamer by Mike Correct. I have read it. It is in no way, shape, or form pornography. It is a semi-autobiographical graphic novel about a young teen boy at a Boy Scout camp the summer before high school, grappling with his realization that he may not be straight, dealing with bullying, worrying about how his father is becoming abusive, and thinking about suicide, and ultimately deciding to live and discovering that his friends in fact don't hate him for being gay. It is an all too common lived experience for many in the LGBT community, and it lets kids know who may be going through something similar that they are not alone. This book's inclusion is literally about saving LGBT kids' lives. Removing and banning books from public libraries is a slippery slope to government censorship and the erosion of our country's commitment to freedom of expression. The challenge of these books conflates any information about or story about the LGBTQ community with rumors, including the Edsel Ford librarian for setting up a banned books display. It's a recent tactic of the authoritarian far-right wing to call anyone part of the LGBT community or their allies child molesters. This isn't even an original take on homophobia. It's very old hat in this country to call any queer person a child molester with no evidence other than being part of the LGBT community. That's bigotry, plain and simple. And I just believe kids should be allowed to have freedom of reading.
I'd like to speak to the board on age-inappropriate books in our school libraries.
May we get the mic up, please? Try bringing it closer to you.
You hear me now?
Yes.
2022 has been a real interesting year. I really was not expecting to be standing here. I'm an avid reader. I'm a product of these Dearborn public schools. Stout is my junior high school, which I attended. You'll find my family with books or curled up in any corner, always reading. I never thought I'd stand to boycott or to ban books, and yet here I am. I never imagined I would be standing in front of a board telling them that they do not have the interests of my child in their minds, and yet here I am. I read one of the books, and I was very surprised to find a graphic novel, as she just spoke about, of children gathered to masturbate, excuse my language everybody, to masturbate into a bottle, with the person who does not participate must drink whatever is in that bottle. Another part of the book talks about children taking wieners and putting it up their... I'm a 43-year-old man and I'm embarrassed to say this stuff. And yet you say it's okay for this to be in the hands of my children. Shame on you. Like I said, I'm a product of these Dearborn public school teachers, and my teachers, Miss Bristol, Miss Holmes, Miss Bruce. If I had uttered any of these words, would have grabbed me by my ear, dragged me to the sink, and washed my mouth out with soap. And how I wish they were here today to drag each one of you to that sink and wash your hands. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Would like to speak to the board on age inappropriate books in our libraries. Ms. Yasmina.
Would you please repeat the name?
Yasmina Mowden. Next speaker is Ms. Nicole McLean of Dearborn, who would like to speak to the board on a book issue. Next speaker is Mr. Hassan Nemi, who would like to speak to the board on sexually explicit materials in books. Next speaker is Mrs. Crystal Paulson, No City, would like to speak to the books on the Me Too. Mr. Speaker, next speaker is Mr. Harry Saleh, would like to speak to the board on no hate speech. Next speaker is Dr. Sterniak of Canton, would like to speak to the board about respect we owe our children. Mrs. Vivian C, it doesn't say the last name, of Canton, would like to speak to the board on our children's safety and parental rights.
Yes, they have the right to speak, they just have to identify from where they're at. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. It's me, Nancy Sterniak. Talk about diversity. I was born in the country of Brazil. 12 years old, I was working on a factory 9 hours a day. I was working for an hour and a half just to pay for my bus trip. 2 buses to work and 2 buses to go home. Actually, not home because I went to night school. And you know what? In my street, I played together with the Asian, with the black, with the white, whatever was there, we played together. I never heard about separation in Brazil. We were all the same, all barefooted, kicking soccer balls, which were not really soccer balls. We got old socks from our fathers, and we put paper inside, and we played soccer. As you know, we are very good at soccer in Brazil. Anyhow, I came to the United States, and I have 5 graduate degrees. I taught elementary level, junior high, high school, college, graduate classes in college, and I love my students. Everyone who comes to my classroom, I teach. And but there is one thing. If anyone comes to my class and shows me a picture that's in this book, out of the class, that student goes. You know what else? were a teacher, and I knew at that time teachers respected the parents. And the board needs to respect the parents.
Dennis Duggan. Next speaker is Giovanna Williams, would like to speak to the board, Dearborn would like to speak to the board on separation of church and state, history of Dearborn.
Oh, hold on just a moment. They called your name and you missed, you were delayed or? Okay, I'm sorry for the confusion. What is your name, please? Viviani. Would you please go back to him, Trustee, or her, I'm sorry, Trustee Mosley?
Yeah, we did have you, so go ahead.
Good evening. I would like to address the board and say that I'm not from the community, but I'm from Canton. And the reason I came was because we need to support all the parents. The children are in jeopardy all around the country. It's very clear from the many ways the children are being attacked with the ideology, the sexual ideology that's perverting the schools. And this is not only in the schools, it's all over with Proposal 3, the way that's going to be embedded in the Constitution of Michigan, that parents will have no say, will have no rights in their children's option to go and get castration, sterilization. So it all starts here in the schools. It is being embedded, it's coming, it's sneaking into the families, and it is very concerning. Being from Canton, I see this as an issue that doesn't affect just Dearborn. It affects all of us. Because if Dearborn, with the supports and everyone that you see here tonight, if Dearborn falls, the entire country will fall. We will have no place to go. And as an immigrant, like a lot of us here, where do we go? Where? Where do we hide? Do we go to Canton? Do we go to Dearborn Heights? Do we go back home? As some people here have said, these are not American values. This is not how we were founded. This is not how it should be. You need to repent. Everyone here needs to repent and allow the children to be kids, to learn. Where are the academics? My daughter, Isabella, was the one that was said the Pledge of Allegiance. She loves this country. We love the country. And we all value education. I know a lot of people here, they value education. They've been to college, and it all starts here with the public schools. So why don't you focus on education? Where is the math? Where is the reading? Where is the history? Where are the strong values that we all came here seeking? Where is that? That's the question. I want you to go tonight, and when you lay your head on a pillow, I want you to ask that. Where are those values? And if Dearborn falls, where do we go? Thank you.
I come to you today as a longtime citizen of Dearborn. I've lived here over 20 years. I am a parent of a student in Dearborn Public Schools. My son and my husband are with me. I come to you as a community member. I love all of you. I really do.
Please address the board.
No, that's all I have to say to the public is that I love my neighbors. That's it. I'm back to you. Okay? However, I do disagree with them. And that's okay too. Okay? I want to say that to the board that there are a lot of 18 to 20-year-old voters. It's
it's not just the people in this room. I'm going to tell you that the yellers and screamers and shouters have scared away a lot of innocent young queer kids. They have made them terrified. And I come to you today as a mother, as a member of this community, as a wife, a mother, a queer mother, and a citizen of this fine city. Some of us may not be old enough to remember. I'm going to pull his name, I want to get it right. Orville Hubbard was a segregationist who took great pains to keep people like us apart. And that is not what this community stands for. We really want to stay together. But the only time I ever hear people say the word pedophile or filth or disgusting is when they're talking about people like me. And as a woman who always has to fight for their right to exist, as a black woman who always has to fight for their right to exist, as a queer person who has always had to fight for their right to exist, I am sick and tired of people telling me to go off and be whatever I am somewhere else. I am not going anywhere. I am sick of the only books that my son can read are about slavery and lynching, things that I find disgusting. Those are things that I hate. I find unacceptable. But we are always reading about those things. We never get to read about love, kindness. If it bleeds, it bleeds. Anything that gets shot, anytime somebody gets in a car accident on Beach Daily or Gully, it's the first thing on the news. If a lesbian couple gets married down the street, you never hear about it. Quiet! It is my turn!
Please address the board. And please be respectful of the speaker.
Books are media. Quiet! You're claiming my time. I want 5 seconds back.
Please continue. Please continue now.
I will not be shouted out by people who are from faith other than mine.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is Adam Next speaker is Ms. Erin Burns of Dearborn, would like to speak to the board on library books.
Good evening, Superintendent Maleko and our board members. Thank you for your service to our community. I know you don't have an easy job, so I appreciate the work that you do, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'd like to start by saying unequivocally that I support our LGBTQ+ community. I always have and I always will. And I appreciate the courage of our members of that community who have spoken here tonight. I really do appreciate you. You know, in Dearborn, we talk a lot about being a diverse and inclusive community. And I would like to see us live into the best of who we are by living into and realizing those values. And if we are to be a truly welcoming and inclusive community, that has to include our LGBTQ+ community members. It has to. I'm speaking, thank you. As a longtime educator, I know from experience that school and education is not just about making sure that our kids get A+ on their tests and their papers. Holistic, true, fundamental education is about making sure that our kids are going out into the world as critical thinkers and as adults with open minds and open hearts. And we have the opportunity as adults in this community to set that example and to live that example for our kids. I would encourage everyone to do that. Some of the language that I've heard describing the LGBTQ+ community has been incredibly harmful. And some of the books that folks are seeking to remove from the shelves, not to not have their own kids read, but to keep any child from having access. Some of those books will save the lives of our LGBTQ+ kids because they mirror their lived experiences and what they're dealing with. I'm speaking, thank you. My time is not up. Thank you, I'm speaking. Thank you.
I am speaking, thank you. Again, I would encourage everyone to live into the best of who we are, to be the diverse and welcoming community that we claim to be and that we absolutely can be. Thank you to our board members for your time tonight, and thank you to our educators, our librarians, who I trust and respect. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Jim Downey of Dearborn Heights. Would like to address the board on books.
My name is Dylan. I was before Aaron, and I still speak.
What was your name?
Dylan.
Just one moment, we're gonna find the card.
Good evening.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening.
Hold on just a moment because we missed this gentleman that was called first. Yep.
Go ahead.
Good evening, governing board, our superintendent. My name is Dylan Magella. I am a high school teacher here in Dearborn at Dearborn High, speaking as an individual. I love this community, and I love my students, and I will fight for them every day of my life. A couple statistics I want to start with. 40% of the homeless youth in our country are LGBTQ+. LGBTQ+ youth are 3 to 5 times more likely to complete suicide. I bring this up because when I think about my classroom, I want this to be a space where everybody is welcome, regardless of race, nationality, immigration status, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, you name it. My students, I believe, have always felt welcome. For everybody in this room, I will, no matter what student comes into the classroom, I have their back, and my students know that. But students don't feel safe in our schools. Look at Monday. They don't feel safe. We're worried about indoctrination when our staff isn't even comfortable enough to be out in public to our schools. Our students are comfortable being out. At my high school, the Gay Straight Alliance poster has been ripped off the wall in my school 5 times last year. Our posters vandalized. This is about more than books, because if it was about books, the main book, This Book is Gay, was actually never checked out by a Dearborn student ever. Period. It wasn't. Not one time. The book, the main book of concern, Ask the District, has not been checked out. So what are we talking about? It has not been checked out. This is greater. This is a greater thing going on in our country. It is an attempt to destroy our public education. There is a movement to discredit what we are doing. We need to stand together and fight against that. There's a movement to privatize your schools, to have charters come in here so that people can make a profit off of it. I've seen it. I've taught in other states. I've taught in Arizona, where people are making millions of dollars off of public education money. We need to make sure we protect against that. We need to make sure that our students feel safe. I have one last thing. If it's really not about the LGBTQ+ community, if it's really not about that, then I should be able to hang this flag in my classroom tomorrow with no problem. This is not political. It says everybody is welcome here. If everybody is welcome, they should be welcome here.
Next speaker is Mr. Jim Downey of Dearborn Heights. Would like to address the board on books.
You don't need a flag to be inclusive. I've been an educator for over 20 years. I've gone through the Dearborn School District. I taught in the district for 8 years. I love my profession. I love my fellow teachers. I respect you guys. But I have to emphasize that there's nothing extreme about objecting to obscene content. I've heard a lot of comments about how the LGBT community has been mischaracterized and terrible things said about them. We're all against that. But I've also seen disparaging remarks made about the people here protesting the obscene content. That is not extreme. There is nothing in the least extreme about not wanting that material being promulgated onto minors. And I'm going to ask that that needs to stop. There's nothing extreme. I'm not an extremist. I'm not a right-winger. Most of the people here are concerned about their kids. Don't mischaracterize them. Don't disparage them. And to my extreme disappointment, I've seen it coming from employees of the district. Employees of the district disparaging the people that pay their salaries. That is inexcusable. There are people here concerned about the children. That's what binds us together here. This is not an anti-gay issue. We embrace all of the kids in the school system. We want them to feel welcome. We want them to feel safe. This is an issue that is addressing decency. Let's focus on that issue. I hear a lot of platitudes about freedom and liberty being somehow in danger. It's not. This is an issue about decency. Focus on the issues. And for those of you who are very committed to these books, if you believe in those books, defend the merit of those books. I appreciated the woman who came up here earlier and talked about one of the books and actually explained, gave some context to it. Okay, that's fine, we can talk about that. But don't call us extremists, don't vilify us. Don't tell us that your liberty is a threat, it's not. This is an issue about decency. I thank you for the opportunity to speak, thank you so much.
Next speaker is Mr. Mustafa of Dearborn, would like to speak to the board on problematic books in elementary classrooms.
Good evening. I bring to you greetings of peace. I'm a parent of two beautiful children in Dearborn Public Schools, both in elementary. Our son, who was in the 4th grade last year, stumbled into a book in the classroom library. I was going to mention the title, but decided not to avoid further commotion in this meeting. Basically, this book is about a kid coming to terms with his sexuality. And the book shows a sexually inappropriate image. When seeing this image in the classroom, our son, age 10, came to us that same day and reported to us what he had seen. We had no doubt that this book was intentionally placed in the classroom by the teacher. Was this book pulled from the classroom? I don't know. Can a child attending that classroom now opt out? I don't know. Now, there's this notion by politically motivated instigators, among them a member of our city council, Aaron Burns, who just spoke a bit ago, egregiously claiming that this is an issue with folks that identify as LGBTQ. Well, I would like to redirect this narrative by saying that placing such books in our school and classroom libraries is an infringement on our inalienable rights to religious freedom and conscience, and more immediately, on the rights of our children to be protected from material with sexual hues. This book placement, among many others, is an attempt to inculcate sexual exploration to our children, to us as parents, and to an overwhelming majority of parents in this district. This is unacceptable. We demand respectfully that the DPS administration and school board take the resolution submitted to the superintendent, Dr. Maleko, for parental rights seriously. We will not allow our children to be exposed to such material in a space we expect to be safe for our children, our schools. Needless to say, we appreciate the tireless dedication by the school staff. We understand it is an immense challenge for teachers day in and day out to care and teach our children. For the vast majority of you who do so without any hidden agendas, may you be blessed. Also, we appreciate the diversity in our city, but in order for diversity to truly exist in harmony, one group must not transgress the rights of another group. This was a transgression of our rights as parents and the rights of our children, and this is a red line. Thank you.
May I please remind everyone to do not mention names. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Muhammad Harara of Dearborn, would like to speak to the board on teaching our kids. Muhammad. Your next speaker is Amin Zrik of Dearborn, would like to speak about constitutional matters.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, school board. First and foremost, I want to express my gratitude for allowing me to speak to the school board in regards to this matter. But there seems to be a huge misconception in terms of what the matter really is. The matter isn't about the suppression of sexual orientation, political affiliation, or whatever it may be. It's about the graphic material strictly, whether or not that material passes constitutional muster under state and federal constitution. It's pretty straightforward. First and foremost, it's pretty alarming, the fact that these books had already made their way into the curriculum and into the public school libraries without any sort of vetting system. There has to be a vetting system, something that regulates, something that keeps the books to a certain standard, a standard that's not established by federal discretion, but a standard that's completely, unequivocally based and reflective of the Michigan legislature's intent of what's afforded to protecting our students regarding obscenity and the material within the books itself. Another matter I want to bring up is the school board. You have something, first and foremost, that's incredibly important. It's called fiduciary duty towards your students. Students, it's not even debatable. They spend more than half their day at schools. May be involved in extracurricular activities, doing extra studies in libraries, whatever it may be. They spend over 50% of their day in school. And there's a concept called Lopez Parentis, under a legal doctrine, that you are technically responsible in servitude of the parent's interest while they're at school. The fiduciary duty that you owe to these students is a duty of loyalty and duty of care. And the very issue here is to make sure that there is an independent committee that is formed and that does reflect the very protections that are granted by the state constitution under MCL 722, section 673, to the very students in making sure and ensuring that they are not exposed to early on obscenity material that may later on cause issues to their mental health or possibly other issues at home. Lastly, I'd like to say that I'm a proud product of Dearborn Public Schools. I remember Mr. Malenko in Saline Elementary, made my way through Fortson High School. Now I'm a lawyer. And I can say that I'm very proud to have been a product of this actual school system. But the fact that it took a parent to discover that these books have been already circulating for over years within our Dearborn Public School system is highly alarming and concerning, and makes us question whether or not the Dearborn Public School Board is fit for the very duties they were voted to commit. And thank you for your time, and I hope you keep that in mind, that it's your responsibility to provide a conducive environment, a learning environment for students, and to make sure that they're protected from the obscenity material that's actually circulating within the school system today. Thank you.
Next speaker is Hassan Shami of Dearborn, would like to speak to the board on library books.
Good evening, my name is Hassan Shami, Dearborn resident. I ditched my speech because there's been so many wonderful brothers and sisters here that let their voices be heard. I want to speak directly to President Roxanne McDonald. President Roxanne, we know that if there's any issues here, somebody disturbing the peace, you need to ask the police to escort them out. That's why they did not escort the person here who was talking to the crowd for up to 2 minutes before you asked them to direct to the board. Shame on you, President Roxanne McDonald. Roxanne, we also need to tell you that you serve this community, and we know there are some media outlets here waiting to smear the Muslim community, and you allowed that to happen because you knew there was going to be a reaction between this inflammatory remarks here and the people in the crowd because how sensitive this issue is. So shame on you. To my fellow community members, I'm so proud to be a part of this community with you guys. But please understand that there are people planted here to create a reaction from you for the media. So be cautious, stay patient, and remain calm. Thank you. And since there was a recent rant in the beginning for 3 minutes that mentioned the founding fathers in America, I also want to say that the founding fathers fought for freedom of religion. So on behalf of the Muslim community, I want to congratulate you on the birth anniversary of Prophet Muhammad, which is this week.
Next speaker Muhammad Musa of Dearborn would like to speak to the board on books.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
A few speakers stated that they don't want Dearborn to become disunited. I don't know about you, but this looks like unity to me. My name is Muhammad Musa and I was born and raised in Dearborn, Michigan. I attended McDonald Elementary School, Eunice Middle School, and both Dearborn and Fortson High School. As someone who has once walked the hallways of both Dearborn and Fortson High, I stand with the majority of the community members who are here today to voice their concerns about the inappropriate and sexually explicit books within our public school libraries. I've heard some people say that parents need to raise their children better, and others stated that this content can be found online. But this does not negate the fact that these books are still inside our public school libraries. A passage from one of these books states, and I quote, "I've met a variety of interesting people through sex apps. They are predominantly used for sex though. They are sold to us as social networking apps, but we all know what they are really for," end quote. The author then continues to talk about a variety of apps that children and students could use to meet up with strangers and have sex with them. Would you want your children to read this type of book? Would you want your children to download these types of apps? Would you want your child to meet up with a stranger and have sex with them? If not, then listen to the community. Listen to the majority. Listen to the people who put you in the seats that you're currently sitting on. Don't put the books on the shelf. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Khalil Rahman of Dearborn would like to speak to the board on explicit books in the school library.
Good evening. First of all, thank you to all the parents. Thank you to everyone who took the time off and come over here to express their concerns. Second, we believe in democracy. The minute we voted you in here, your title changed from candidates to trustees. But apparently you broke that trust. These books that are in concerns have been in our libraries since 2019 through a SORA collection purchase via Wayne County. And this is something that we have to talk to the Commissioner of Wayne County how these purchases are taking place. But the process that Dr. Dylan Blakio proposed, apparently it's been in place before. So that process failed. That process failed to vet these books and remove them from our libraries. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about libraries and the books in the libraries, but I want to mention this process is so complicated and it's not going to serve our community whatsoever. And if it's good, it could have been prevented these books from coming to our libraries back in 2019. One thing that I have to highlight, and a lot of people repeated the same thing, this is not anti-LGBTQ. This is not anti-any community. This is not anti-any groups. But apparently one thing that we noticed tonight, everybody that came over here and stood for the books and supporting these books to be in our libraries, 90% of them are teachers in our schools. They are paid by our tax-paying dollars. They are speaking the same narratives, which proves to me there is a rumor yesterday that there was a note that was sent out to them to come, our email, that to come and speak about these books to be in our libraries. We are paying for their salaries. We love them. I have 5 kids, and all of them, they go to Dearborn Public School. I expect every single employee or district employee to take a stand on this, at least look at the books and see what are the sexual explicit contexts are saying. This is not about any group or any community. We are talking about porn in our schools. We can stop sexualizing our kids. Thank you.
Next speaker is Imam Jeffrey of Dearborn, who would like to speak to the board on books in the libraries. Next speaker is Matthew Rapparino, would like to speak to the board on legality of those books and materials, as well as the board's legal obligation to protect the children.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks to everyone in the audience. I stand here fascinated by what I'm watching tonight as we watch the school board construct a narrative that is completely false. Many people stand here and say, we want to protect our parental rights. And this is nothing about the teachers. They support the teachers, and they say we are not opposing LGBTQ rights. And then yet, other people come up here to support the books solely for the purpose of LGBTQ rights. And yet, as a school board, you allowed someone to stand here for 3 minutes and disparage the Muslim faith. You did not stop it. You allowed another person to come here in front of the media for 3 minutes and incite the crowd. President McDonald, you did nothing to stop it. On Monday, you shut down this audience and these parents from speaking. And some people have talked about it, and I will remind you. MCL 380.10 states it is the natural, fundamental right of parents and legal guardians to determine and direct the care, teaching, and education of their children. Fundamental right of the parents to direct the teaching of their children. The statute then says the public schools of this state serve the needs of the pupils by cooperating with the pupils' parents and legal guardians to develop the pupils' intellectual capabilities and vocational skills. And you failed every parent in the way you violated their fundamental rights on Monday to speak and the way you've treated this issue. The fundamental rights of the parents is a huge issue right now in this country and across this state. The ability of the parents to direct to you what they want taught in these schools. And some people stand up here and say, we shouldn't ban these books because no one has ever checked them out. That doesn't mean people haven't read them or students haven't read them in school. What you're doing right now in this state, in this board, is over-sexualizing children. And you're doing it for political reasons. And you have an attorney general right now in this state, Dana Nessel, who says she wants to put a drag queen in every school. And you're allowing it to happen. I say to you, it's time to stop with the political nonsense. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Ali Shazwa of Dearborn.